Okay, great. Thanks, Preston. And it's great to have you all here today. Um, this is, I believe, is the sixth in our series of webinars and that we started this year. So top 10 paid search marketing mistakes. I want to let you know that it's going to be recorded today, so we'll be sending it out an email later this week. So in case you can't attend the whole webinar, we'll be following up and you can enjoy it at your pleasure. And also, please ask questions in our chat box at your convenience, and we'll be answering them at the end of the webinar. First off, a couple things about PointIt. We were launched in April of 2002. We're Seattle's largest independent search marketing firm, offering paid search and SEO. Last year, we managed about $30 million in media, which we're going to bring a lot of that information and all that media management experience to bear today, and some of the points that we go over today. We have 12 members, 40 years of search marketing experience, and service clients across a variety of verticals and revenue models. So I'd like to welcome Frank Cole. How are you doing today, Frank?
I'm good. It's what is about the 10th or 11th straight day of no rain in Seattle, so things are good. And that's no mistake.
That's right. I don't have to cut the lawn anymore.
Yeah, that's right. Mine's turning brown, which is a good thing. All right. Today we're going to cover what we see as the top 10 mistakes for paid search. Some of them you may have heard of before, but I think you'll find an interesting twist on them. We'll cover everything from budget management to different ways to test ad copy, looking at ways that you can use Google Analytics to pull in information and help improve your pay-per-click. We'll get into conversion tracking errors that we see, some typical keyword issues, and then finally deciding when to quit. And with that, we will go straight into mistake number one. John, it's all yours.
Okay, and this is where we start with balancing the spend mix, or balancing your budget. This is kind of high level. Many of you may be already aware of this, but in Google you can manage budgets by campaign and by account. And what we sometimes see is mismanagement of that budget. For instance, in this example, we have a consumer campaign, a content campaign, and a B2B campaign. So we've broken it down into various campaigns. And the top campaign is limited by budget, so we could actually spend more than the $120 a day that is indicated here. However, on the right side, you can see that the CPA is, or cost per action, is higher than the other campaigns. So we're actually good with the way this is set up. But in the case where the CPA was lower than the other campaigns, then we might want to allocate more money on a daily basis to the content or B2B terms campaign. Another thing we see often is, or we've seen it several times, wondering why performance has been not as good as it should be. We've seen advertisers who hit their budget limits really early in the morning. So especially that can be important with a B2B site where your audience the audience that you're targeting is looking and searching during business hours. And if you've already reached your budget limit before that time, then you're really missing out on your target audience. And I also want to mention kind of artificially constricting your budget. It's something, if you're actually being able to show a return on investment, then it doesn't necessarily make sense to limit your budget at all, because you can open the budget on Google and you'll get the same quality of conversions and same ROI, so you might as well increase it. Okay, Frank, I'm going to move it over to you for the next slide.
Great. This particular mistake covers keywords that aren't converting, and I can pretty much guarantee that if you, with your pay-per-click campaign, you can probably save up to 10% of your budget if you go through this process. So what's it all about? It's identifying keywords with zero conversions over a specific time period. Start off by running my favorite report, which is the placement keyword report, and make sure you turn on conversions. Actually, one thing I wish Google would do is set conversions on those reports by default, but anyway, make sure you do check them on. download the report into Excel, and then do a sort or do a filter so you can identify those keywords which have had 0 conversions over the last 30, 60 days. You probably have a better sense of the appropriate time frame for your campaign. So you've got all the 0 conversion keywords. Now what do you do about them? The first thing I do is I sort them by clicks, and I look for keywords which have had between, say, 30 and 100 clicks. They've been running for a few weeks, no conversions. They are prime candidates for being turned off. The next thing I do then is look at keywords which have had fewer than 30 clicks, but which have been running for several weeks. Now, it's very common to have keywords, especially long-tail keywords, which don't have a lot of clicks. But the point here is that you could well have hundreds or even thousands of those keywords, each of them only costing you a few cents, but the cumulative effect of those can literally be thousands of dollars. So do those 2 steps, look at the 30 to 100 clicks or the few clicks in the last couple of months, and then get those keywords, upload them to AdWords Editor, pause them, and then boom, you're going to see a pretty quick improvement in your pay-per-click budget. And I can tell you that in almost every single client account or prospect account I go into, I find this is a way to save money. So anyway, with that, John, on to testing ads.
Right, that's great information, Frank. Thanks. The other thing we think is really important and important to do is test your ad copy. Google is a great platform for doing ad copy testing. It wasn't always that way, but they've improved it over the years, and you can A/B test ads very easily. And the other thing you want to be doing is watching how your competitors and seeing what they are doing on keywords that you're bidding on, seeing what ads they are showing so that you can stand out. And finally, you don't want to work in a vacuum. There are tools out there that allow you to spy on your competition and see what they're doing. Tools like AdGuru and SpyFu, and I'll show you that in a second. And what I mean by the importance of ad copy here is you want to stand out from the pack. There is a tool within Google or a function called keyword inserts that many of you are probably aware of, so that you can automatically insert your keyword into the ad copy. And I am showing you an example of a search query I did on Google for the term stocks. And almost every ad here has stocks in the headline. So it's likely that the majority of these advertisers are using the keyword insert function. However, eTrade, who is a very sophisticated advertiser as well, has not, and they've got a hard-coded description or title in their ad, and it really stands out from the pack. So definitely look at the competition and see how they are, what their ads look like when you come up with your own ad copy. This is a screenshot of SpyFu, which will give you information on your competitors' ad budgets and keywords. They also have this relatively new product called Combat, which will allow you to see what keywords you're bidding on, what keywords that you and your competition is bidding on, and also what keywords you may be missing that your competitors are bidding on. So it's great information, especially if you're looking to do keyword expands. There's no reason to recreate the wheel here. It's all in front of you. And another tool we often use for our clients called AdGuru. Again, some of you may be familiar with this tool. It's great, especially for the C-level. It really explains how you're doing. So in this case, you can track what is known as your coverage here, or your share of voice for a certain amount of keywords compared to your competitors, as well as rank. So you can benchmark that and show that over time and kind of really justify your existence to the C-level. And a couple of other tips, I guess, as far as ad copy testing. When you first set up ad copy tests, you may want to try 2 completely different themes to see which ones really resonate with your audience. But over time, you want to narrow it down and test out specific elements. For instance, in these two ads, which I'm showing right here, the title and the second description line are exactly the same for both the ads, but the third description line is different. So that's what we're testing, and we can see here that on a number of conversion basis, the ad below for this time period is outperforming the top ad, so the free sample is working really well. And we're also making sure that we're serving the ads evenly. That can be configured in Google as well. They have something called serve ads more evenly, or optimize your ads. But when you're optimizing your ads, they're optimizing it so that Google makes more money, because they're optimizing it by click-through rate. And since you pay per click, they make more money and you don't necessarily. So especially for ad copy testing, you want to rotate evenly. Let's take another look at this screenshot I showed about the search engine results page on the query stocks. And here is a spreadsheet that I used. It's a report I ran in Google for a client. And as you can see below at the bottom, I think it's magenta. I'm not even sure what color that is. Here's the keyword insert function in the ad copy. So this copy is running, they're both running back to back in the same ad group. And the one with keyword insert function has 0 conversions compared to the one with a regular title. So that's just an example. The keyword insert function doesn't always improve your conversion rate. And in the ad group just above that, it does. So you need to look on a case-by-case basis. The keyword in the ad group may not be relevant to the ad copy. And so, again, you got to just keep testing, and reviewing and analyzing, and then you're going to be able to optimize your campaigns and your ads. I'm going to bounce it back to Frank for the next tip.
In this particular one, what I come across a lot is not taking advantage of the information in Google Analytics, specifically the bounce rate. The bounce rate can be viewed for many different elements within your pay-per-click, and actually also your organic traffic as well. You can look at bounce rate for individual landing pages. You can look at them at the campaign level, the keyword level. And why this is important? Let me give you a couple of examples. When you start campaigns in Google, you're either on Google.com. You can also be on the search partners. Well, and the search partners are like Ask.com, Business.com, etc. One of our clients went direct to one of the search partners and started advertising through them. When we looked at their bounce rate through Google Analytics, we found the bounce rate, despite them saying that their network was ideal, or their search engine was ideal for our clients, we found the bounce rate was 95%. Had we not been looking around, had we not been addicted to the bounce rate inspection or benchmarking, we would have missed that. But basically, 100% of our dollars were just going down the drain with that. So what's a good bounce rate? The answer is it depends. And what I encourage you to do is, if you're not doing bounce rate analysis, set benchmarks starting today, because they're going to be the guiding posts for you for your account to improve over the next few months. If you've got multiple landing pages, start tracking that landing page bounce rate. Wave that in front of your graphical designer and say, hey, you're at 65 today. Your target for 2 weeks from now is designing a landing page that will get me from 65 to 45, for example. In fact, we had one account who went from 58 to 35 with a landing page change. It can be that dramatic. I've seen landing pages as low as 14–15%. Those can be when you have specific branded terms that people are searching on. So although there's no norm, it's going to range. So just start doing it today. Take action on your bounce rate. All right, John? Okay, on to the next slide. Again, using Google Analytics. Take advantage of the sales funnel that's in Google Analytics. John, there we go. It's bouncing around, I guess, this particular slide. In Google Analytics, take advantage of the sales funnel. That is set up goals stepping you through that process. In this particular case, this was somebody's account I looked at last week. It's a new client just coming on board, and it's kind of an interesting story because we met with them for 2 hours. We talked all about pay-per-click and keywords, landing pages, etc. And then just at the end, I said, well, let's take a look at your sales funnel. And he showed this to me. And what you can see is at the beginning, up at the top, he's got 18,845 people coming in. These are people who click the Buy Now button and then move through the funnel. Well, going to the next step, he lost 86%. Going to the step after that, he dropped 80%. So by the time he got to the end, the people actually taking orders, there were only 2%. 2% had made it all the way through. Our first reaction right away was, forget the pay-per-click for a minute or two. Let's fix this guy. Let's fix those steps in all those pages that someone has to go through when they are when they're placing an order. If we can fix those quickly, we can easily take that from a 14% 14% click through on the first step, easily get that up to probably 30-40% relatively quickly, and that's just money that's sitting there. Another part to keep in mind here is this wasn't just for pay-per-click traffic. This was for all traffic. So your sales funnel can capture it from both the organic side and from the pay-per-click side. All right, John, let's move. Okay, while we're on the subject of sales funnels and landing pages, let's just take through some common landing page mistakes we see. One is that a lot of traffic often just goes to the one page, namely the home page. So make sure your ad groups and your ads rather are directing traffic to relevant landing pages, relevant to the keywords people are searching on. Also, just like ad copy, make sure landing page optimization is an ongoing process. It can be viewed sometimes as, oh, it's just one thing we have to do, we'll do it once and it's all set. Well, there are so many elements on a landing page, such as the navigation bar, the button text, the graphics, the headlines, etc. So many elements that can always be improved on. So think of it as an ongoing process. And one of the issues you're going to come across is because it interfaces or relies on other functions in your organization, such as graphic design and also an IT department, you're going to have to work to get landing page optimization a high enough priority. But believe me, it pays off. If you think about it, your landing page is a salesperson, and people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars training their salespeople. They should be spending money on improving that landing page, because the landing page can turn your sales overnight from, they could probably double sales overnight in many cases. Well, one question we often get asked is, can you show us some good landing pages? And on this next slide, I'm going to show you a great one in the business planning software niche. So, John, can you just take us to that one? Here it is. This is a great landing page for many reasons. If we start at the top, you'll see there's really no navigation bar taking to things like contact us or products or features. This is all about buy the standard, buy the premier. Good use of nav bar. Look also at the top right-hand side. You'll see McAfee Secure. There's that secure that's making people feel at ease on this page. But a couple of things that I love about this page are it's so darn big. For those of us over 40 whose eyesight may be not as good as before, large fonts is a really smart move. And the button, you see the Learn More button there. I've heard, I think it was Amazon, their litmus test for buttons is if you can see it across the room. Once you can see it across the room, then you've got it the right size. And this one just jumps out at you. Other good things here, recommended by the experts, Wall Street Journal, Inc. magazine. It's very easy to make your way around this magazine, make your way around this landing page, and to take action. To learn more just screams at you. So, real good example there. And speaking of landing pages, John, you have something for us now on conversion tracking.
Yes, thanks, Frank. And yeah, you can't say enough about those big buttons. I mean, we've seen several clients who are doing multivariate testing, and it just seems like the big buttons always win out. What I want to show you also, which can really help you, win out in the long run, is conversion tracking. And most of you are probably, if you're running AdWords by now, you're probably tracking to a conversion. But there are tools out there now that will help you track all the way to a sale, especially if, for instance, in the example that you're a B2B client again, or a B2B advertiser, you may be tracking to a white paper, or you may be tracking to somebody who fills out a form, but you can now track to Salesforce. You can integrate within Salesforce so that you can see within your Salesforce campaign which campaign was responsible for the conversion, what ad, what keyword, and I'm showing you right here. This is what we can see within our Salesforce with Google AdWords. So it's great information, and it helps you not only see what converts, but what the ROI is on a specific keyword, and that's really critical, because not all conversions are the same. Another thing that's really important to look at is negatives. Some people don't put as much attention into that as you should. And what negatives are keywords that you can add into Google AdWords or your search campaign, so that when somebody searches on that particular keyword or keyword phrase that you use as a negative, your ad won't come up. So the way to do that is to run a search query report, and not only will you develop negatives, but you'll also see what keywords that Google sometimes may be associating with the keyword you're advertising on, which are doing really well, and you can make sure that you're using that keyword. I'll show you an example in a second. So Google offers a lot of tools to help with this now, and their new interface gives much more transparency. So this right here is a search query report from the new interface, which they're rolling out as we speak. And this particular advertiser is advertising on Reb A, which is a natural sweetener product. And as you can see, even though we're bidding on terms like Reb A, Google is matching us up with search queries like how to be a pastor or tribute to a pastor, which has nothing to do with their product, and we certainly don't want to be paying for those clicks. So we've excluded them. And at the bottom here, you can see a term which was a misspell, but actually converted over here, so purchasing Reb. And so we've added that as a new keyword in our ad campaign. So great insights that can help you optimize your campaign. There's also a network tab right now in the new interface, so you can drill down. As Frank was mentioning previously, the search network and the content network have a variety of partners that your ads show up on. It's not just google.com. And these partners are listed in the network tab, and then you can identify which ones are doing well and which ones are doing poorly, and you can exclude the ones that are doing poorly. So here's another way of viewing it. This is a placement performance report which we ran for a client, and the network partners that are highlighted in red had really poor performance, so we've excluded them. For instance, this one, in.com, hopefully nobody out there in the audience is from in.com, had a $1,388 cost per conversion, which is way over what the average cost per conversion is. So we excluded them. And above, highlighted in yellow, are sites that are doing really well. So we've added them to the placement targeted campaign, so that we can make sure that it shows up all the time and it's not just subject to Google's content algorithm. Okay, Frank, I think we're going to wrap up with some more tips.
Yeah, we have just a couple more of the top 10 I want to get through here. I'm going to start off with keywords, and some of these, as I said at the beginning, some of these you've heard before, but there's a slightly different twist on them. Number one, make sure you use branded terms. You can use branded terms of your competitors. We'll get get to that in a minute. But also make sure you're bidding on your own branded terms. So if you're selling a Panasonic plasma television 40-inch, make sure you bid specifically on those type of keywords, because when people are in real buyer's mode, they've done their research, they're going to put in very specific branded search terms. So make sure you are bidding on your own branded, and then we'll talk about bidding on competitive ones shortly. One issue I think many people have heard about is ego bidding. That is, getting a direction from maybe the CEO of the company who says, "Hey, I want our ad always in the first place," and you might be pulling your hair out as the PPC manager, saying that doesn't make sense. I know the traffic doesn't convert there. So what I do in that case is I will run that placement keyword report that I showed early on, and then I'll show it to a CEO or the vice president of marketing and say, "Hey, here are the results. It's killing us. We're not getting any conversions, or the cost of conversion is way too expensive." And then that might be enough to hopefully that'll be enough to soothe the ego and get them to move it to a lower spot. But I will say that it does make sense. It can make sense to be in the number one slot, and it makes sense if the numbers tell you it makes sense. I have many broad match terms which are in the number one position and which are converting, but the only reason they're there is because I've run my placement reports and I've seen that they are profitable. And usually those tend to be the lower volume traffic ones. So ego building isn't a sort of golden thou shalt not break type of rule. Use the data to decide what should be in there. Another thing that comes up often is the match types, broad, phrase, and exact. And really, it comes down to overuse of broad. That can really run up your pay-per-click bills. And what I encourage you to do is run a search query report, see what people are actually typing in, and turn those into phrase or exact. And that should help reduce the number of broad matches that you have. As I mentioned earlier, the long tail can get the best of you if you don't keep an eye on it. If you have too long a tail, and I was looking at clients the other day who had 3,000 or 4,000 words in the long tail. With those, you've got to be really careful that each of those isn't just contributing to eating up your budget. Now, the next one I want to talk about is using competitors' keywords in the ad copy. It used to be that for trademarked terms, Google would not let you do that. They would let you bid in the terms, but they wouldn't let you actually put those terms on the page. So, John, if you can flip the slide here, we'll talk about what the change has been. Round about the middle of May, Google changed its policy, and it will let the trademark appear in the ad text. I should say one thing right up front. This is Google saying this. Things could be different in a court of law, and it's not unheard of where one advertiser has sued another in court for bidding on their on their trademarks within Google. So don't be surprised if you get a cease and desist letter. But here's what Google has said. They've said that you can use the term if it's a descriptive or generic term. Because sometimes people trademark generic terms, which I think is a bit of a jip. They were probably smart about it, but if the general public is using this generic term, I kind of feel it's a bit unfair that somebody snags it and prevents you bidding in something as powerful as Google. In addition, you can use the trademark if you are reselling the product, if you're selling components or replacement parts associated with it, or if you have an informational site about it. So if you haven't heard about this, just actually go into Google and type in Google new trademark policy and read up about it. Make sure you understand it, and then start bidding on those. But as I say, it's you could get a cease and desist, so you do it at your own peril. I'm not a lawyer, and I'll say the usual legal caveats at that point. All right, one more to go, John, and it's not knowing when to quit. So when is enough enough? When do I turn off this darn campaign or these keywords? This is kind of the process I would go through. So you have your campaigns running, and you've got your keyword placement report, and you find that, oh man, these CPAs are just awful. And what do? Do I just turn it off? Well, I go through a couple of things. The first thing I want to know is kind of bigger picture. is the product I'm selling, product or service I'm selling, does it have an upsell or back end to it, and are people buying that? I mean, what I'm getting at is um, really what's the value of that customer over this first or second year? And it might just be that it's all right to lose money in pay-per-click because you know you're going to make so much money on the upsell. And the only really way to do that is to have a CRM system or a customer tracking system that gives you that kind of information. I found sort of maybe about 25% clients have that kind of information. If you do that information, it's a very powerful weapon to use in your pay-per-click. Because just think about it, you know, where your competitors might be worrying about profitable pay-per-click, you're in the position because you know your customer buying habits, you know how much they're worth to you. You can be running this and losing money on it, and that's okay because you know you're going to get it. And then your competitors are going to be scratching their heads saying, I don't know how this guy can be running. You know, I can't keep up with these bids. And so you can sort of squeeze them out a bit if you know your back end, if you know your customer essentially lifetime value well enough. Other things you might want to look at before you turn it off are how's your landing page doing. If you've not done any optimization on your landing page, I'd be doing that before I turn off keywords. Or what I might do is I might just pause the keywords while the landing page conversions are being made and then turn them back on again and then see if those made the difference. Probably the final thing I'll do is I'll start moving position. You see in the campaign example I had here, the one at the top has an average position of about 6.3. That one's probably ready to get turned off at this point. The other one's at 3.8, so I'd probably start lowering the bids, moving it down the page in Google to see if I can get better conversion, better CPAs at that point. So don't just turn off right away. Look at these factors, and if one thing you take out of this, if you don't know the real value of your customer, I think that might be something worth digging into. As I say, it's a great tool, great knowledge to have when it comes to bidding on your pay-per-click campaigns. So, well, I think John and I know when to quit. We have reached the end of our webinar, and we're open to questions. We have some coming through. John, we got a question for you. We have a question. What's the cost of SpyFu and AdGuru?
Well, I don't actually sell those products personally, but they're not that expensive. In fact, AdGuru has a free trial you can try out with several keywords. I think up to 50 keywords, and then I think they have an express program, which is about $90 a month. You can do it on a monthly basis, and SpyFu, their plan is more of a flat fee. It's like $60 a month for SpyFu, kind of all you can eat. So it's not prohibitively expensive.
Okay, I've got a couple of quick ones that I'll take here. Is it okay to bid on competitors' domain names? Yes, go ahead and try that. And a couple of things to know. So bid on, let's say it's Frank. Frank's the competitor. So bid on www.frank.com. Bid on www.frank.com. Bid on www.frank.com. Do all kinds of variations of using the with and without the dot, and you'll pick up some traffic. I won't promise it'll all convert, but those are definitely worth trying out. John, are there other ways to find negatives besides the search query report?
Actually, you can run a raw query report in Google Analytics. It used to be that you'd get much more information in Google Analytics than you would in the interface, but recently Google has opened it up in the interface too. But that's another way you can do that. And if you have any questions on exactly how to do any of these things, feel free to email either myself or Frank, and we can walk you through it.
I got a question on the long tail here. It says, I'm confused about long tail keywords and how we should turn them off if they don't get clicks. Won't long tail words by their nature not get a lot of clicks, but be worth holding because they are more targeted? Good question. My issue on long tail keywords is, after a certain point, you can tell whether they're going to convert or not. I mean, after a couple of months, if nothing's happening, is one thought I have, and then the other thing, which kind of I think is the clincher, is if you have a lot of them, then they can really eat up pay-per-click. So if it's a handful, not a problem. If it's hundreds or thousands, then and I've certainly seen that case, then that definitely is an issue, because I've seen that probably be almost up to 10% of somebody's pay-per-click budget has been in those long-tail keywords that didn't convert, that ranked for a long time, but each individually didn't cost them much. John, one for you here. Can you A/B test anything besides ads, and how would you do that?
Yes, you can add, you can A/B test ads, of course, but you can also, what we typically do is A/B test landing pages. So in that case, you'd have the same exact ad copy running back to back, but you change the destination URL to various landing pages, and you get the same kind of feedback. There's probably other things you can A/B test, but that's what I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay, we have another one here. What do you think is a decent cost per conversion?
Do you want to answer that one?
Yeah, that's a hard one, because it really depends on, that changes from customer to customer. But I will say that, my first thought is I compare a CPA to, let's say I'm selling a product. It's a $100 product, and it costs me $50 to make the product. So I make $50 $50 profit per product. Then my CPA, I wouldn't want to be any more than $50, because then I'd be breaking even on it. If I was selling a lot of other things beyond it, there was some upsell, then I might just say breaking even is okay. But if that was the only thing I was selling, then I might say, okay, if I'm making $50 profit, the most I'd want to have and a cost per conversion might be $10 or $20. So it's really up to you on how profitable you want it to be. Any thoughts on that, John?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, it's changed over the years, actually, and I would think that in general, overall CPA might have increased as cost per clicks have increased. But like you said, you want to do it profitably, and it can vary. I mean, if you're selling a $1 million CRM system, then your CPA obviously can be higher than if you're selling a $20 widget.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's how it's really basically what revenue or what margin you're bringing in from that product. It can be very, very high if necessary. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think that looks like all the questions, John.
Great.
You want to wrap up?
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming out today and for coming out to our event. We're going to have more webinars coming up on a monthly basis, so keep an eye out for those. And like I said before, if you have any specific questions, don't hesitate to email myself or Frank. And we want, again, thanks for attending. Have a great day.